Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use Google Cloud's MySQL instance on Cloud SQL to connect to DBGate. Okay, so DBGate is basically a data admin tool which can be used on Windows, Linux, Mac, and it looks something like this. We'll be connecting our MySQL instance with this particular tool. Right now, first thing we are going to do is within dashboard we will access all products. In new tab we will be opening all products within the list and you will be able to access that. Now next thing is checking out our Cloud SQL product from the list of products. So for that what we can do is scroll to the database, right? And here I will be clicking on SQL service. So once we go there, our first part that will be visible is instance. As you can see, this is the instance. So I already have one set up. So what I will do is I will try to show you how I created this. So click on create instance, and here you will come to this particular page where you have to choose between three different databases. For example, here you have MySQL with LTS editions, PostgreSQL with its own editions, and SQL Server. So I choose MySQL from the list, right? And next thing would be we will be filling out some of the configurations. So here I will start with instance ID. It could be name, mix of name and number, something like my instance 12, 20, and so on. You add password or generate it. If you choose to generate the password, then you will have to pick the policy. So where you can set the minimum length, complexity, and other restrictions. Then you choose database version. We select the recent LTS, right? Then we choose option of configuration. So I'll pick development, which will reduce the configuration to 2 CPU, 8 GB memory, and so on. There is also option to choose minor versions, but I will skip that. Then there is choose region and zone. So I will pick from the available zones. Let's say I pick Asia, Mumbai, or even Seoul, right? Zone you pick based on your load. So if there is no load, you pick single zone. If you are working for say business or enterprise has a lot of loads, you will pick multiple zones. Then in configuration you can pick the minor versions, and you can also see that there is a big list of minor versions here. So I discussed that, I suppose, so it's just a repeat of that. Now let's move on to customization of entire instance. So here you see show configuration options, where I can change the machine type to high memory standard lightweight shared core. So I will choose lightweight. So it is 2 CPU 3.75 GB option. Another thing is choosing the storage, where you have SSD and we pick the 10 GB of that. Then comes option to choose automatic storage option that incrementally changes or reduces, right? So in our case we picked the 10 GB of that, right? And now let's pick connection, where I pick the public IP. Can also add network of IP ranges, where we see 0.0.0/0. So all the IP ranges will be covered. Click done and move on. Now let's pick the data protection, where you can pick the backup automated within specific time. You can also pick the time zone and number of backups, then point in recovery time. You can also expand and set the days of logs. Then comes deletion protection. Can enable disable that. Then comes maintenance, where you can see any window and you choose the dates. Then order of update, you can pick any letter earlier from that. Then comes flags, query insight, labels. Here you see labels you use for organizing things, and for telemetry you use query insights, flags for your aspects of instance that can be managed by adding flag. So small details like that you can configure here within MySQL instance. Then finally click on create instance. This should take like 5 to 10 minutes and then it should set up. So if you go back to the instance after that by clicking that particular instance ID, right, and it should appear like the dashboard here. And here you see your CPU chart. That should look something like this. You have your IP connection and your configuration, CPU, memory, SSD storage, all of that is available. You also have service account and you can copy that and use when required, right? So this is what we need, which is public IP address, right? Now let's go to connection to make few changes. First we will go to security, where we will allow SSL connection and also download the certificate, and make sure to store it within some place in your desktop, right? And also create client certificate if you have such tools which requires it. Once you enable the SSL, let's move to networking. In case of networking, we can add all the IPs if you haven't added that, right? And after that save the settings, then come back to overview, where we are going to get the IP address. So let's try and copy this IP address and then move to DBGate part. So for DBGate I downloaded the installer and ran it. So I will just go and open it from Windows. So here you have DBGate. So it will open in the background and you can see it full screen. It is loading like this, and here you see the new connection. Select the connection type, choose MySQL, and within server localhost we will have to paste the IP. Now once you choose the server IP, you can choose the user. We will also add password. Now once we add the password, we can keep the save and encrypt. We can use particular color for our connection. Then we will move to SSL, right, where you can choose use SSL, then choose CA-cert and point to your CA certificate. Now once we added the certificate, we can test to see whether it connects, and it says connected. So now we will go back to our general settings and then click connect, and it will appear on the left of connections, right? And let's remove this tab and move to our database. So MyDB is the database and that has people table. Okay, so once we click on the particular table, you will notice it returns with 10 rows here, right? So I can choose to add new row, delete row, right? I can also view columns, right? Also I can switch to form, right? If I want to create new row, click on that, add the 11th row and so on. I can also delete this if I want to, I'll just select that and delete row, right, and it will be synced with my table immediately. So we managed to do few things. First, we created one of the MySQL instance on Google Cloud Platform under Cloud SQL. So that was MySQL instance, and then we downloaded and used DBGate to connect to that instance. We also downloaded our CA certificate file and enabled SSH to make the connection. After establishing connection, we accessed database and also run query to check table and its respective roles. Overall, you can see we achieved our goal, and now you can take this further, work with your connection, table and database. So I hope you get the idea how to do this in GCP.